Burning Truth. I am your host, Casey Hendrickson, once again at Casey the Host on social media. Well, joining us right now is Senator John Thune. How are you doing, Senator?
Good, Casey. Nice to be in Indiana, particularly right here in Fort Wayne.
And Senator Thune is going to be the keynote address for the Allen County GOP's Reagan Bean Dinner. And I'm just wondering, what are some of the things that are going to be hitting on themes with your speech tonight?
Well, I mean, first off, the importance of making sure that Jim Banks comes to the United States Senate and that we flip the United States Senate and turn it into a Republican majority, hopefully to work with President Trump and J.D. Vance as a team to get some things done for the country. So we'll be talking about the need for everybody to finish the job. I mean, he's in a good spot, but you got to keep your foot on the gas as we get closer to this election and not leave anything to chance. So talking about that and talking about the issues. I mean, I think right now, people in this country are really frustrated. They're frustrated by high prices and open borders. I think those are the two issues that are going to be prominent in this campaign as we head down the stretch, both at the presidential level and at the Senate level.
When you are hearing people like Jamie Raskin say that they're not going to let Trump take power, what is the plan for Republicans in Washington, D.C.? You're in leadership on the Senate side. What's the plan for Republicans should the Democrats try anything like that if Donald Trump is, in fact, the guy who wins the election? Well,
I mean, if he wins the election, the people have spoken, and that's the way our process works. Now, Jamie Raskin and others like him in the House of Representatives, who sort of on the far left of the Democrat Party, the best way to ensure that doesn't happen is to keep a Republican majority in the House and to get a Republican majority in the Senate, and then that pretty much weakens any authority power they might have to do anything. But we'll have to be that check and balance. The Senate will, if for whatever reason, if the House were to flip to Democrats and they decide they're going to try and who knows, they've tried to impeach Trump a couple of times before, it means the Senate's going to have to stand in the gap and be that important bulwark against a lot of really bad and radical ideas that come out of the ideological left in this country, which was what people like Jamie Raskin represent.
Section 230 is obviously, for somebody like me, very important. Right. But I also think it is very important to your constituents in South Dakota, the people here in Indiana, and everywhere else. As somebody who started getting censored back in early 2016 by all platforms, now completely and totally banned on Facebook, not violating any of their policies. Section 230 is something that has been talked about by Republicans, hasn't been addressed, always appears to get kicked down the road. There's always an allegation that there's something more important to do. I don't think that there is many things out there more important, Senator. Will there actually be an effort to fix Section 230 so that Americans can speak their mind freely using their First Amendment on social media platforms without being censored for their political beliefs?
Well, I actually have a bill on Section 230 to reform it for the reasons that you mentioned. And partly because in the old days it was basically a medium. So Section 230 just ensured that these are platforms, anybody could get on them, and they never stepped on content. Now they're getting on there. They're actually moderating content. They're kicking people off the platform, and what they got in exchange for that back in the day was an exemption from liability. So basically, they couldn't be sued because they were simply the medium by which the content was put out there.
Right.
That's now changed, and I think that relationship has to change as a result of that too. So I've got a bill that would do that. I hope that if we get the majority, we can put that on the agenda, because I do think it's an issue that needs to be addressed. That's a 1996 law. Obviously, things have changed a lot.
Sure.
And most importantly, what's changed the most is a lot of these big tech companies now have started to censor, and they've become people who are not just allowing content to move on their platforms, but actually deciding what does and what doesn't go.
I would certainly hope that President Trump would be pushing this, considering he was immediately removed from all social media right after he left office. I mean, obviously a coordinated attack, but that was happening to people, like I said, going all the way back to early 2016. So right. I'm glad to hear that. I think that's going to be a good thing. The border got better under Trump. There's no doubt about that.
Right.
Border has been an issue my entire life. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. It's always been an issue there. There's a lot of people out there who don't have faith in either side to actually fix the southern border the way that it should be done. What are your thoughts on that, particularly from the Senate Republican side? And do you think that Senate Republicans and House Republicans can also come together? House Republicans seem to be a little bit more stringent than Senate Republicans are on the issue. Can you guys have middle ground that would work for the American people?
Well, I think the the bill that passed the House, H.R. 2, would be a good starting place. There are certain provisions in there. We didn't hold every. We had a vote on it in the Senate. We didn't hold every Republican. We lost one, but I think it's a good starting point. But I would simply go back to the formula that worked. You pointed out what they were doing under President Trump. The wall works. Both a physical wall, technological wall. Go back to remain in Mexico. Start adjudicating these asylum cases before they get to the border so that we don't just release them into this country and they never show up for their hearing. And catch and release. Do away with this, just the parole process that this administration has used just to wave people into this country indiscriminately. I think you can do a lot of this by executive action if Trump wins, but he needs to have support of the Congress, and hopefully if we have Republican majorities in the House and the Senate, we can give him the resources and the manpower that he needs to get that job done. Because the one thing that we have to do, you cannot have a country if you don't have borders, and we essentially have a open southern border now where it's not just people from Central and South America who are coming here for a better life. It's terrorists, it's cartels, it's Chinese nationalists. It has become a portal to get into this country with a lot of people who have malign intentions toward the U.S.
And again, we're talking with Senator John Thune from South Dakota. More to your point, student from the University of Michigan just arrested, criminally charged with taking pictures of a military base working for the Chinese Communist Party and the Chinese government. You got the FBI foiling a terrorist plot from a now confirmed CIA contractor from Afghanistan. Yeah. He was brought over here without being properly vetted. Hezbollah has a lot of ties with Central America. The U.S. Southern Command has been screaming at the top of their lungs every single year when they go to Congress and they say the southern border is a major terrorist threat. And when you have a consistent issue with visas and overstaying those visas and all of those things, how do we actually fix something like that? Especially considering what's happened over the past 3.5 years with this administration, where we potentially have thousands of foreign adversaries and young fighting men. Maybe they're just looking for a better life. Maybe they're criminal gangs. Maybe they're operatives for a foreign government. How do we actually address that and fix that problem and secure the country?
Well, I mean, I think that you have to. One, if people come in this country and there are tons of them now who have criminal records, who've committed crimes in this country, ought to be automatically, boom, you're gone. And visa overstays is a huge issue as well. So people get here, they overstay their visas, and that too should be something that we ought to be able to make sure that people who aren't here legally are removed from the country. Obviously, it gets a little more challenging when you've got people who have come to this country, had kids here, the dreamers. Mm-hmm. Some of whom are serving in various capacities, including the military. I think those are things you have to look at. But the idea that we can allow people to come in, get educated here, perhaps spy on us while they're here, maybe go back to their home country, maybe not, maybe they stay here. That the whole apparatus today by which people come into this country needs to be examined in light of, are we impairing America's national security, and are we giving people like even Chinese students who populate a lot of our universities in this country a chance to come here to get educated and then to go out and do things that are going to be harmful to U.S. interests? I think those are all fair game. And I would add to that the list of people, these elite universities where you have Jewish students that are being discriminated against. Yep. The business model that allows billions of dollars of tax dollars to go into these universities that's got to change too. So I think the whole way we view this, but starts with that southern border and getting operational control.
And again, we have Senator John Thune with us. Ohio has just won a court battle. They're doing their best to keep foreign money out of ballot measures in their state ballots. I want to see this go national. Mm-hmm. Is there any appetite with Republicans in Washington, D.C. to work to get foreign influence out of local elections, ballot initiatives, and things like that at the state level? Because right now, a lot of foreign money is coming into the United States' election systems on those initiatives because they benefit foreign countries. Sometimes that's Saudi Arabia. Sometimes that's China. Sometimes that's, the United Arab Emirates or other countries. Is there any appetite for Republicans to fix that?
Well, there is. I mean, I think you have to, because that that's supposed to be illegal. But they're finding out backdoors and runs around our laws and our system of trying to police this stuff. But one thing we can't have is foreign influence or foreign governments playing in and trying to buy American elections. It's just that you can't tolerate that. So if there's a model that's working successfully, say in the state of Ohio, that can be replicated across the country, or maybe even perhaps in some sort of a national template, I mean, I'm for that. There is no way that foreign dollars ought to be creeping into our election system. But I know that there are examples where it is.
Congressman Banks is doing his best to become your next senator.
Right.
He and I have talked about this. We're both veterans. We're not happy with the direction of the military at all. Mm-hmm. And I think that most veterans probably feel the same way, Senator. Donald Trump gets in office. Let's just say Republicans take the Senate, Republicans retain the House, maybe even expand upon their lead. Is there a game plan in place to help reform the military and get it back to its former glory? Well,
I think starting with the leadership at the top, and obviously the Senate has the power of confirmation, so all the generals, starting with the Secretary of Defense, those key positions, Secretary of State, CIA, but then everything down the ladder from there when it comes to the key military commands around the country and around the world, is to get people installed in these positions who aren't intent on adopting woke positions. But I think a lot of that starts at the top, and I think that's Biden, Harris, and then I think it's Lloyd Austin, and then it just trickles down. It's a domino effect. So you got to stop that. I mean,
Senator John Thune, I'm looking forward to your speech tonight. Thank you so much for coming to Indiana. We do appreciate your time on the show as well.
Good to be with you. Thanks, Casey. Yep.
We got more coming up on The Burning Truth.
Podcasts by Federated Media.